Brought to you by Dale Carnegie of Orange County. This is the 411 on Leadership podcast, where we discuss common sense leadership practices with executives in Southern California to transform you into the leader people want to follow.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas.
We are powered by Sitch Radio. This is the 411 on Leadership podcast. John is correct. I am Steve Thomas. I'm the executive consultant facilitator with Dale Carnegie, along with Dr. Reverend Bishop John Campbell.
Wow, I got a lot of extra titles this morning.
You've earned it for waking me up this morning.
Oh. Wow, that was waking up at wow. I think that was like at 7:30.
You're like my shot of coffee, the coffee that I have not had yet. So, John, before we get started, again, we are powered by Sitch Radio. Hey, if you're looking into starting a podcast, go ahead and call our friends over at Sitch Radio. They can be found at sitchradio.com. Talk to my man Brian, and he will definitely set you up with doing your own podcast with your cool studio like this, and some awesome advice to go along with that. So sitchradio.com, go ahead and talk to our man Brian. So John, who do we have on the podcast today?
Well, it's Monday. That means we're talking the 411 on leadership, Steve. We have the fabulous, I don't know, I'm not going to give you all the extra titles that Steve gave me, but we got Richard Pintang, and he is a sales executive with experience in several multinational organizations with a passion to see others succeed and grow. Charismatic leader with a contagious enthusiasm, and his leadership extends beyond work. And so, man, we are excited, Richard, to have you here with us this morning.
Pintang is in the studio.
Yes.
Shout out to Sitch Radio. There's nothing like starting off with information that's going to motivate everyone on a Monday.
Well, as was just shared with us a moment ago before we went live, every day could start with a pinch of Pintang. So that's a little bit of dash, a little bit of that, something of this, and a pinch of Pintang, and boom. Man, we are excited to have you here. Yeah. And it is true. I mean, a lot of experience, just a great person. I've had a chance to get to know you a little bit over the last year. And, man, we are excited to share Richard with everyone today and introduce you to the Sitch world and the 411 on leadership world.
Yes, sir. So, Rich, tell us a little bit about your leadership and also sales journey to this point.
Yeah, I come from the school of hard knocks, man. It was relocating from the rugged streets of Chicago out here to Southern Cal. Started in a full commission position, and it was like, here's your literature, here's your contracts. Good luck, big guy. And that was it. It was, you guys know, if you've ever been in a sales position that's full commission, it's survival of the fittest, man. You will learn very quickly, whether you choose to or not. And that first year in sales was rough to really get an idea, like, what is this game all about? Mm-hmm. But after the first year of eating dirt, it was like, once you get a taste of that success and you realize, hey, I got to be coachable, I got to learn, I got to stay hungry, and there's no one there that's going to tell you need to go and do this. You have to have that initiative and be motivated. So a lot of those characteristics and virtues were learned through the process. It was not by reading, it was by doing. But from that, a lot of the success I was able to get at the corporate level was really by finding good mentors, finding good coaches, because the person that hired me, wherever Linda Hodek is, you taught me what not to be in a leader. Because if I was ever responsible for, which I was later on in promotions, managing 10 or 15 people, that they got to be just as hungry. And my job is not to only give them the tools, but to give them skill development and give them a chance to succeed, because I really wasn't given that opportunity. Hopefully that resonates with you guys.
So you learned a little bit by omission, like, wow, I had to figure this stuff out, and I want the next person to not have to go through what I did. Is that kind of what you're saying?
You tend to feel the weight on your shoulders. You get the accountability piece with management that's always looking for, hey, giving you a little clap about, hey, you did great this month, this quarter, but what are you forecasting now? And if you're not on your game and you're empty, you're going to be sucking wind for those couple of weeks. So I was always very much preaching about top of the funnel stuff, man. Stay proactive, stay away from the water cooler, and find out where your next deal's coming from, because we got to pay for diapers, those kinds of things. Those are the motivations that I can find naturally with my responsibility in my household.
And we talk about sales and leadership, and that's the focus we're going to be focusing on a little bit on this podcast. And, we're grateful that we have you, Rich, is, so you'd mentioned as you were starting off in sales, it's all commission, right? So, it's like, hey, you know what? You either are eating well or you're not eating at all, based on what you're bringing in. So, but in addition to that, you're also leading people doing that. So, what's been your leadership approach to those people that have worked with you, on your team, especially, considering things could be really high pressured. There's a lot of, there's just a lot of pressure in just to bring in revenue for the company. So what's been your approach in leading your team?
There's so many different aspects of leadership, and, you can have those tough conversations, but you also have to be a compassionate leader, especially where you're dealing with people that have different motivations. So from my side, it was always servant leadership. I've always figured that the people that sat in that management chair before me, there's a reason why they were only there for a year and a half. And I'm a loyal cat. So if I'm going to sit there, I'm going to let you know I'm giving you 100%. And that's what I expect out of you. I'm not expecting you to be always number one, number two on the leaderboard, but I want to know you gave it your all. I want to know you were able to put in the extra work outside of everything I'm giving you. What are you doing when no one's looking? It's up to you. The business is out there. But when it came to running the sales team, it was always individually. What is this person about? What makes this guy or girl tick? Does he want to fund a vacation for his wife because she's supporting him while he's putting in extra hours and building a strong business foundation? Or is it does he want to or she want to help with buying ballet shoes or fix up the house? Whatever their motivation is, I need to know that, because I need to be the one that's kind of coaching them along, mentoring them, having the tough conversations one-on-one, but at the same time saying it's there and acknowledging you're doing some great things. Let's work on this area. And that'll mean one or two more sales, which could mean the bonus that we missed last month. You kind of see where I'm going with that?
It's funny. You remind me of the principle Dale Carnegie writes of the principle number 3, where it says arousing the other person an eager want. So it's almost like you're finding out what is their number one motivator. Is it their family? Is it so their kids could go to ballet school, or or is it just self-fulfillment, or maybe recognition of some sort? But whatever it is, finding out what is that one thing that drives that person. And then as you're encouraging them and motivating them, you're speaking to that. And I think that it also takes, John, it really takes us being, using another Dale Carnegie principle, it takes us being genuinely interested in other people, which can be, very challenging if we're trying to bring in money and we're trying to do what we need to do, not for the company and for our own selves. It could just be really difficult to do, which is really to be genuinely interested in the other person.
Absolutely. And, we refer to Dale Carnegie a lot, but because a lot of these principles don't just they're not just okay. They apply on a daily basis that help you as a leader to be that person that somebody wants to follow. And I think you and I, Steve, we've been talking through the last few weeks, and Richard, you nailed it. As a leader, when you're leading a group and a team of people, they're different. And you've got to customize your leadership potentially for each person. Now, sometimes there's an overarching leadership where I've got to be the commander or whatever, the general, but then sometimes I got to be individual for this person. Like you said, what motivates this person? And somebody responds to that goal. What's that end goal? And they want the Mercedes or they want the convertible. And this other person, like you said, it's their kids and that's their factor. Or there's always that person that's like, I got to check every box. or what? And so you've had to customize, and you found that success in really finding out that individual's person desire and how to get them to the next level.
Yeah, and a lot of that because of what Dale Carnegie preaches about the people skills. Sometimes you lose that element because it's always about the spreadsheet, the numbers, the forecast, those types of things that so important as far as the competency and the accountability that's necessary to drive for results. Because if I'm in that leadership position, I am responsible for those results, and so are you for the given territory. So a lot of times it's just the listening aspect. Like a lot of times as salespeople, we're so anxious to shove a solution or a product in front of them that we don't even take time to listen. We're trying to figure out how to respond. Take time to listen and put yourself in their shoes and find out what keeps you up at night and how am I going to help solve that. And that's where the trust is, this sales executive, this performance consultant, he actually is listening to me, unlike someone that's trying to shove a program down my throat. There's a very big difference in the sales game. Generally, customers are going to buy from people they like and trust. If they like you can make that happen. Right. The trust factor it's the credibility. It's, are you calling on time? Are you there when they need you?
Wow. That's
when a true partnership, just like in a relationship, are you there or did you bail on me? Right. So that's really what I bring to the table with whatever team I roll with.
So Rich, what would you say is your most impactful lesson that you've learned as you've led sales teams and just as you've led people?
I've always realized that it's never always going to be smooth sailing. But if you do mostly all the right things, even when there's a valley in your sales or there's a valley in your manpower, you have the core competencies to get you out of that and quicker. You don't want the valleys to be so deep that you can't get out of it. But you also want to realize that even when you're at the top of that mountain and you've got all these sales awards, there's more to that. And that's also enjoying what you did, seeing how you did it, but being proactive and saying, I'm focused on the next quarter, the next half year, just like I would be if I was in a ball game and, we're down 12 at half. I'm going to make adjustments. I think one of the biggest enemies of excellence is mediocrity or complacency. You get so caught up in saying, look what I did. Look what I did, guys. But the reality is it was never me, and I have to give all the credit to the people around me that supported me, from in my home, around me, administration, everyone that plays that little part.
Okay.
But all that is all the synergy that you have to be around people that have can-do attitudes.
One of the things we hear people complain about is sales, or I don't have sales in my title, or I don't want to be a salesperson. But the reality is that every business has to have sales. You've got to be able to have or deliver a product that people want to buy. And at the end of the day, you could be a manager, you're the CEO, the owner, you've got to find customers. And we've been going through an environment here where it's been a rough time. You've led sales through tough times, some of those valleys. What are some of those aspects that, whether you are a full-time salesperson or you're a manager, you're the chief of operations, what are some of those principles, Richard, that you've seen have been successful for people going through potentially tough business climate?
Yeah, I want to say that most people are coming out of last year saying, I'm glad that's over, but what did you do at that time?
Yeah.
Because we all had that same time to self-reflect, take inventory of ourselves. What am I good at? But what areas do I need to work on? And that could be anything. That could be working with people that are going to give you creative ways to go about a very different business environment. And you could either sulk about the environment we're in, or you can be prepared. And preparation is such a big deal. And a lot of that is the desire to want to know more, to have an advantage over your competitors, because every deal you win is a deal that the guys, 2 or 3 other businesses that are going after the same piece of the pie, that's ours. It's ours to claim. In my eyes, if you're ready to go toe to toe with a business owner and speak to them on their level, speak their language, And that's game time. But what you do before game time is up to you. It's up to you to champion your product, your service, and your craft. And then everything else, the results will follow, whether it's, number 1 or number 3 on the leaderboard. Put it all out there, man. And in most cases, it's I'll outwork everyone else and let the results be what they are.
One of the things you mentioned was the idea of was the preparation portion of it. And I think that, for salespeople, it's like, okay, if I'm not out talking to somebody, calling somebody, just, being out there doing some sort of activity, then it's nothing at all. Well, but on the flip side of that, if we're not preparing for those calls, if we're not taking the day to strategize, I know we say a lot around the office, we need to take time to work on the business, not just work in the business. And so just kind of having that, again, that mentality of like, okay, yeah, I do need to be out there. I do need to be talking with people. I do need to be leading my team and making sure that we're all on the same page. I do need to, mention always talk about the vision and where we want to go on as a team. But then at the same time, we need to have that time to strategize. How do we do that? What does that look like? Creating our own sales funnel and just seeing what that would look like for us to get to where we need to get to on a day-to-day basis. And so being prepared is absolutely crucial, especially as we're leading, our teams, whatever we're selling, just galvanizing the group and saying, hey, you know what, this is where we want to be. Let's talk a little bit about how we plan to be there. And it just makes us more effective as sales coaches, as we're coaching our team, knowing that, hey, we know this is what we need to do. Let's do it together, but let's, do these particular steps, and always coming back to that as well. So, we're talking with Rich Pintang. We're getting a pinch of Pintang here on a Monday morning. And so Rich, I'm glad to say, is the newest member of the Dale Carnegie family. So he is the newest executive consultant here with our Orange County office as part of Dale Carnegie. So it's great to have him on the podcast. If you are listening to this or watching this live on LinkedIn or YouTube or on Facebook, we'd love to see your comments or questions. We do look at that. So go ahead and post your comments and questions. We would love to be able to address those, or go ahead and give us a thumbs up or a like or whatever it is, if you're definitely digging the content that we're putting out. And so we definitely would appreciate hearing your feedback, because we want to create that community and really make sure that we are providing for you some takeaways and tips that you could utilize this week. So, Rich, as we, look into this week, and as we mentioned, you are the newest member of the Dale Carnegie family. So welcome to you for that. So why would our clients want to work with you?
Well, yeah, but I'll tell you what, man, I always go with the approach that let me give you every reason to work with me, and instead of why they wouldn't want to. And I'm cut from a different cloth, man. I've got, my own fingerprints. I'm created with certain skills, God-given talents, and the way I see it is, I'm someone that can take the old school and the new school. And if you're partnering with someone like that can take your core competencies, and then on top of that, lead them into an area where they can see more gains, they can see more productivity, they can see results based on just some of the unique strategies that I've had in my business world. Those are the things that I take pride in. I take a lot of pride in sharing things, letting people do what they do well, and then sitting back and kind of having that Mr. Miyagi moment where you're like, I told you, Danielson, I told you to trust me. And you have to have that kind of trust in any relationship, any partnership. And really that's really what it is I always try to put myself in their shoes, so that I'm putting their best interest, not what I want, but ultimately what they need and what they need to go to the next level. And in most cases, that relationship is built on trust. It's built on someone like myself that has a very big heart, and the loyalty comes with that. So I would say that in most cases, I want to understand what pains them, so I can help relieve even a certain percentage of that by using our solutions and or our advice. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. But that Mr. Miyagi moment, I love him.
That's good. So it's not always talk to Richard because there's a hurdle. Sometimes it may be doing okay, but you've got this wealth of experience that to be able to come to you and say, hey, what can we do to plan? As you said, you can't just celebrate yesterday's success. I've got to be looking to the future. What's next? What's the next thing out there? And how do I do that successfully? So get a pinch of Pintang and get rocking with that. Is it all right if I transition? Or go ahead.
Yeah, no. Actually, I think we're both thinking the same thing. So I'll let you take the lead on that. No worries.
Well, leadership at work is one thing, and we've talked about that so often. And we put a lot of these principles especially when we talk about human relationship principles. How do I lead people? And we a lot of times put it in context of work. But work is not all of our life, is it? And sometimes we've got to take work, or we've got to take our leadership home with us. And what does that look like after we turn the lights out the office and we head home, or we go into the rest part of our life? And talk to us a little bit, Richard, about what does leadership look like away from the office?
Yeah, sure. To me, that's a big deal. I think first and foremost, family is everything to me. I grew up knowing that in the family there should be loyalty, and you whether you guys believe it or not, you're a leader in itself, in the home, in the community. And I could be raising 2 kids and sharing all sorts of bits of knowledge to them, but if they don't see it and they can't imitate what they saw, they're never going to truly learn the values and or the lessons I had given them. And a lot of that's done through experience. And so what I've always done is I've always taken my role in the home as first and foremost my responsibility. If the good Lord above gave me and entrusted me to take care of these 2 beautiful children, as well as have the responsibility of caring for my bride of 20 plus years, then it's still my responsibility. And is it easy? No, everyone knows that. But I think that the misnomer is that men are lazy. I think there's a lot of misconception about how and what your role is in the home. And so to me, it's about virtue. It's for 100% about our faith. Are we giving back to the people that are less fortunate than us? And it goes back to Dale Carnegie's value set of counting your blessings instead of your problems.
Right.
So having those very open conversations with my children, having a loving relationship with my wife on how we can best support each other. That's what true leadership is. The honesty, the open communication, coming from a loving place, even when it's a very direct and disciplinary type conversation, it's coming from a loving place. And I'm part of a dad's group, and we always talk about this obituary exercise.
Okay.
What are your kids? What is your wife? What are your grandkids going to say about what you did or didn't do with the opportunity you were given here on earth? It really gets you to consider, am I really making a difference in impacting people's lives? And ultimately, I think I want the kids and my wife to say he gave us 100%, and we couldn't have asked for more than what he gave us, which was 100% of him.
So slightly switching gears, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because I do agree that how we lead at home does affect how we lead at work. And this is regardless if we have a family or not, because we're not going to assume that everyone that's listening or watching this has their family. But I think what a lesson COVID has taught us is how do we lead ourselves? How do we best manage our time? How do we best manage ourselves? Are we investing time in ourselves outside of work? Are we exercising? Are we eating right? Are we practicing self-care? Because that stuff will affect how we lead at work. For those that do have families, I have a wife and I have a daughter, and so being intentional on being present with them. I mean, that's something that I'm constantly working on, that I don't have that down pat, because it's like, okay, there's so many things going on. It's like, the practice of being intentional and present. You mentioned that before we just went right on the podcast. It's just being there, with them. I mean, it definitely has an effect on what we do at work. So, I'm definitely 100%. I think we can all agree on that, just how we lead at home, regardless if we have a family or not, right. If we have family or if it's ourselves, how we lead at home affects how we are going to lead at work in some form or fashion. So it looks like we've got to wrap up in a little bit, but we always have, whoever joins us, we always have our guests share what is that one common practice, what is that tip that you would advise other sales leaders, other people in sales, or just people in general, but let's, more particularly in sales and sales leadership, what is that one common sense tip or principle that people could put into place, Rich, this week? What is that pinch or pintang that you can give to the listeners this week?
In most cases, Steve, I can have general conversations with people, but I think that when I think about it, I always think about two aspects of decision making, and there's controllables and uncontrollables.
Okay.
And that comes to any situation, whether it's in the home or it's in a business environment. You can control certain things, and a lot of that is attitude. You can be there on time. You can maintain integrity. You can make sure your words match your actions. And to me, is it a facade, or is it really something that you believe in? So the way I see it is, you always look at yourself and say, where am I? What are my skill sets? How can I make this person or this group better by my contribution or my presence? And a lot of that comes with having a can-do attitude. So for me, it's really just about saying, I have something to offer. I have God-given talent. He put me on this earth with these set of fingerprints only, and however I can contribute, I'm going to come in there and make sure people are increased by their interaction and or working with me in some shape or fashion.
It's almost like an affirmation of sorts, just starting off your morning by saying, hey, you know what? I know what I'm here for. This is my opportunity to not only contribute to my team, but to impact those that are around me, and just really making sure that we're of the right mindset and of the right attitude to go forward and say, hey, you know what? Today, I'm going to make a difference. Now, at the end of the day, it may or may not happen, but the idea is that we can't control what happens during the day. We can only control our attitude and how we start off that day. So sorry, John, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, we're good. No, and it's that celebrating those wins in the morning. So, it's kind of that principle, make your bed. If I've made my bed, I've already got one thing accomplished today. I get to work on time, no matter what's up, man. I'm starting off on that right foot. So that mental mindset, thank you. So that pinch of pintang to get you started and to get your workday empowered. So awesome. Thank you for that. What else, Steve? What, as a takeaway as a leader, what can I do to grow and advance?
Well, I'm just going to go with Rich. I mean, I definitely agree. I think that, it's easier said than done. Because obviously when we get up in the morning, sometimes what's the first thing that we do? We look on our phone, we're checking our emails, and then all these things just kind of cloud our attitude and really just kind of puts us in the wrong frame of mind. So, what does it look like to get up and not look at your phone? What does it look like to just, get up and just, say thank you? Whether, you believe in God or believe in a higher power, but whatever it is, what does that look like just to say, hey, you know what? Thankful, just having that attitude of gratitude, right? And just really saying, thank you. And that's something that would help us, I would think, just to at least put ourselves in the framework of just having, starting off on that right foot and having that great day.
Agreed.
So, hey, Rich, how can our listeners connect with you online?
Well, you can find me at rich.pintang@dalecarnegie.com. I run a Catholic Dadcast podcast for dads that want to go to a whole different level. But otherwise, I'm here to serve the community, do a lot of ministry work, trying to help, the most needy out there. And otherwise, it's been an honor to be here, guys.
Rich, we're so grateful to have you. And John, always appreciate having you as well. But
good to hear. I'm glad. Sometimes
it's that
I
attitude of gratitude.
John. Sometimes I gotta have that right mental mindset.
There you go. Well, listen, thanks so much for joining us on today's podcast. Listen, we are located at ocdalecarnegie.com. If you have any questions about what we can do with you and your teams as it relates to any professional learning and development goals that your team has, more specifically, a couple of things that we've been talking about, or at least the attitude, and as it relates to counting our blessings, not our troubles, part of one of our stress strategies. We have a Skills for Success program occurring May the 4th. That's coming up. So our Dale Carnegie course, Skills for Success program, will equip you with some strategies, not only to best deal with stress, but also the best work with people that are on your team. And then also we have a program called Winning with Relationship Selling that positions you to be that person that positions you to be that trusted advisor with your clients. A lot of what Rich was talking about today. So with that being said, Rich, again, thank you so much for joining the podcast. John, always a joy and a pleasure. John is, by the way, he is the Director of Mission Relations at the Pacific Justice Institute. So go ahead and check that website out. You mind telling us where we can find you, John, or where we can find the Pacific Justice Institute?
Yeah, we're at pacificjustice.org. So we are a nonprofit legal defense organization. And come check us out and see the causes that we're a part of.
All right, perfect.
Cool.
Well, listen, thank you all so much for joining our podcast. Remember, managers light a fire under people, leaders light a fire in people. Bye for now.